Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Atrium Research's YouTube channel. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Paolo Lostritto, the CEO of Sailfish Royalty Corp., which trades under the symbol FISH on the TSXV. Today will be the first time hosting Paolo and Sailfish, as we recently initiated coverage on the story on October 1st. Just for a quick overview before I hand it over to Paolo, Sailfish is a precious metals royalty and streaming company. Within its portfolio are two main assets in the Americas, one of which is a 3% NSR on the Spring Valley Gold Project in Nevada, which is on its way to permit approval, and then another is a gold stream NSR and silver purchase agreement on the San Albino gold mine in Nicaragua. We currently have a buy rating and a target price of $2 per share on the company. Paolo, good to have you here.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. And thanks, everybody, for joining us here today. I'll endeavor to keep this presentation very short and to the point. Some forward-looking statements before we jump into the actual presentation. So as Ben mentioned, we are a precious metal and royalty streaming company. We're hyper-focused on capital returns to shareholders. We have a strong backer in Wexford, and we're mainly focused in the Americas. Bit of our corporate structure, we're 61% owned by Wexford Capital. We also have an endorsement from Paul Stevens. Management and insiders also have a healthy position, so we're aligned with shareholders. This slide's a little bit up behind the curve just because the market's been changed over the course of the last little bit. Our market capitalization is approximately 80 million right now. We have about approximately 70 million shares outstanding, and we have a 5% US per share dividend that we pay out on a quarterly basis. So what is Sailfish? We've got solid cash flow. We've got, as I mentioned, a strategy return value to shareholders through share repurchases and a solid dividend, and we're structured as a call option on the Spring Valley asset. Spring Valley is a plus 5 million ounce gold deposit in Nevada. It's heap leach. The last published study envisions production of about 3.2 million ounces of gold over an 11-year mine life. That's currently in the permitting phase. So just timelines, the last 2 years are critical to Sailfish. We've got Las Conchitas maiden resource that was announced. They started production at Las Conchitas. We've started the process of permitting at Spring Valley. Las Conchitas has now reached steady state, so that's producing roughly about 44,000 ounces of gold equivalent per year. And as mentioned by Ben, we've now have third-party research identifying the opportunities here at Sailfish. Catalysts to expect over the course of the next 12 months. We have a draft environmental impact statement that should be filed by the end of this year by the Bureau of Land Management. We would then have an opportunity to exercise our silver option on San Albino that would allow us to take on all silver production from the San Albino production facility in and around San Albino and Las Conchitas, life of mine. We're expecting a record decision on the Spring Valley heap leach asset by June of next year. And in addition to that, we have some planned underground testing at San Albino in 2025, and that would be an incremental source of growth for our model, internal model on Sailfish Royalty. So just highlighting kind of the revenue and cash balance and how there's been a definite uptick in those two numbers despite our aggressive share repurchases, and also highlighting our yield relative to the rest of the royalty space. We're currently sitting at about 4.5% yield, just to kind of give a perspective of where that stands right now. Our team, we have Akiba Leisman, who's our executive chairman and part of the founding group, Brian McKenzie, who's our CFO and part of the group that actually was involved at the Spring Valley asset, and myself, Paolo Lostritto, as the CEO and director of the company. Okay, so digging into the assets specifically, we have silver purchase agreement that's currently paying out 13,500 ounces a month. That'll last until May of next year. That'll switch over to all silver production going forward. Once that option is exercised, we expect that option to deliver about 4,000 ounces per month of silver. We have a 2% NSR on the Las Conchitas and surrounding area, and a stream equivalent to a 3% NSR on San Albino. We have two non-producing assets in El Compás and La Cigarra. They're projects in Mexico, polymetallic assets in Mexico. We actually have a silver exploration asset called Gavilanes in Mexico. And then the two main assets, which want to focus on, is the Spring Valley NSR and the adjacent Moonlight NSR. So right now, most of our cash flow comes from the San Albino district. We have a 2% NSR on Las Conchitas and the surrounding area. We also have a gold stream equivalent to a 3% NSR on the San Albino area. The San Albino open pit mine has largely been mined out. There is plans for underground test mining to occur in that area. Again, we're not modeling that at this time in terms of our expected cash flow, so that represents some upside. That asset group achieved commercial production in 2021 and is one of the highest grade open pit gold mines in the world. Spring Valley is a up to 3% NSR on 3.2 million ounces in Nevada. It's an open pit heap leach. It's adjacent to the Rochester mine, one of the largest open pit heap leach mines in the US. That asset is currently undergoing permitting, and we're expecting a record decision by June of 2025, and that would put it into a position where a production decision can be made. So zooming in on San Albino proper, you've got a series of stacked high-grade veins, shallowly dipping. They are conducive to open pit mining. And you can see here that not only are there a series of veins that are stacked going from the northwest to the southeast, but there's evidence that these veins continue along strike, which would mean going to the northeast to the southwest. So there's opportunities for this system to grow. We believe that the operator is only scratching the surface. So San Albino in the past was operating roughly 35,000 ounces gold equivalent. As I mentioned, that's largely mined out from an open pit perspective. They're going to go and move to an underground test mining phase in late 2025. All the production, or the majority of the production, is coming from the nearby Las Conchitas asset, where we have a 2% NSR on that area, and that's producing at roughly 44,000 ounces of gold equivalent per year at the moment. Moving over to Spring Valley, we are in Nevada. This is elephant country. You've got a number of major gold trends in Nevada, and we're located nearby that area, just southwest of Winnemucca. This is adjacent to the core Rochester mine, and we're just north. And this map's a little bit confusing because north is to the right, but our property, where our NSR is located just north of the Rochester mine. It's probably a continuation of the same system. And then the Moonlight project is north of the Spring Valley asset. Zooming in, we have a 3% NSR on the core area. You can see where the designed open pit, we have the majority of the open pit covered by the 3% NSR. The magentas to the northeast, it has a 1.5% NSR. And the surrounding ground outside of those two claims, which is the yellow claims, has a 0.5% NSR. Based on the pre-feasibility study that was published in 2021, you're looking at 3.2 million ounces of gold production over an 11-year mine life. However, that study was superseded by the plan of operations that was filed with the BLM that envisions a production rate that represents approximately 20% expansion. So we don't have access to the full study, but based on some rough numbers, it suggests that it's going to be a 20 to 21% larger project in terms of scope change. And as I mentioned, Waterton, we have a 2% NSR on the Waterton project to the north called Moonlight as well. There are no resources on that project, but we have reason to believe that there might be an extension to the mineralized system to the north. El Campas is a non-producing asset, went into production in 2019. Operations were suspended in 2021. We have a 1.5% NSR on that project. This represents option value to Sailfish shareholders if they ever resume production in and around the assets where we have the NSR. And the same with La Cigar. You've got a 1% NSR on an early stage gold project in Mexico. Gavilanes represents about 22 million ounces of silver equivalent in terms of resources, using 100 grams per ton silver equivalent as a cutoff. Important to highlight, of that, you're looking at 18 million ounces of actual silver within that 22 million ounces of silver equivalent. We believe that this is just a snapshot and that there's tremendous amount of exploration upside on this asset. Since acquiring the asset, we've done a tremendous amount of surface sampling, chip sampling, and mapping. We've expanded the footprint of the project. We've found another 8 veins. You can see the 47 drill holes that were historically done on this project does not test the extensions that we've discovered as a result of our service program. So the plan would be to come in here and do some drilling, extend to Descubrador, San Nicolas, Soledad, and all the new veins that we've since highlighted. Important to highlight the last published resource on the San Albino Las Conchitas mineral resource. Basically maps out another 5 years of mine life in front of us. But as I mentioned, our partner Mako Mining has been actively drilling. Some of the results have been spectacular in terms of their ability to find more material. And so we look forward to this mineral resource being updated. And as I mentioned, we believe that they're going to be mining here for quite some time. So with that, I'm happy to take some questions.
Yeah, thanks for that, Paolo. It was a good, quick breakdown. Just before we got into a question here, I did just want to highlight for viewers the Spring Valley project. Within our research and our initiation report, we do break down the specifics of the numbers, what we believe, ultimately that project is going to look like, and then the impact that will have on the company of Sailfish. And even with that, the project MPV, we believe, is well over $1 billion. And if you're using spot prices, probably closer to $2 billion. It's roughly a 350,000 ounce per year producer. So quite a substantial project. And it is, nearing the finish line in terms of de-risking with permit approval. And we'll see how that comes in the spring. But getting into a couple things, Paolo, just on the gold price and silver price as of late. Obviously, it's been doing very well throughout the last year, and recently we've seen silver spike over $35 an ounce. Could you just provide, obviously not getting into too many specifics, but just the impact that can have on Sailfish with the San Albino project and what the production can look like out of that asset?
Yeah, so anytime you have incremental growth in an underlying commodity, it opens up opportunities for additional resources being processed. It also provides more cash flow for more exploration to be worked on. What's key here is that up until recently, we've seen the gold price go up as a function of the U.S. trade-weighted U.S. dollar going down. And in the last since the beginning of 2024, what's interesting is we've actually seen the gold price go up in spite of the strength of the trade-weighted U.S. dollar. So it's telling you that the gold price is pricing in global risk. And so that bodes well in terms of this technical breakout that we're going through. We think that we've entered into another bull market. It's been a long time coming, although it's not been reflected in the equity prices. as of old. These things are trading cheap as chips, despite the fact that these gold companies are printing money hand over fist. And so they're not trading as a call option as they once did. There's a lot of resources that are not being taken into account in terms of the NPV of these valuations. So I think we're at the beginning stages here of a new gold bull equity market.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. And, eventually the money will trickle from the commodities into the producers, which we're seeing in the majors, and then, it comes downstream from there. Could you just talk about how lean the team is at Sailfish, the strategic reason for that, and obviously the benefits in saving some costs within the company?
Yeah, so we're as highlighted before, we're a 3-person team. We do have access to outside consultants, so Resource Geosciences with Dr. Matt Gray, who's instrumental, him and his team, with the work that they're doing in the past at Gavilanes. So we have bench strength there. We have a relationship with Tesoro, which is actually the operating group that does work down at Mako Mining. So we have a lot of bench strength for a company of our size. And the reason why we keep the team as small as we do and then outsource when we need that additional bench strength and when we're doing due diligence on a project is to keep the costs as low as possible. Mm-hmm. It's important to highlight that, if you look at the compensation of our team, it's still, very low relative to our competitors, both on an individual basis, but as an overall G&A cash burn. We're making sure that cash is going to shareholders.
Yeah. No, that's great. And then I guess to the same tune, the company is cash flowing with, the San Albino assets as we've gone through. Can you just speak to the company buying back stock throughout the last year and how that's impacted the share price and what the plan is with doing that?
Yeah, so when we picked up on the permitting process happening at Spring Valley, we were sure to kind of press release it. We had a conference call. We kind of screamed at the top of our lungs, letting people know that this was a material event that would help unlock value. And despite our efforts to kind of broadcast to the market was not responsive, mainly because the assets being held within a private entity, a private equity group. If it was held within Barrick or, Centerra or whoever, the market would be probably more willing to price in the likelihood of this thing actually getting built. Yep. And so after screaming from the top of our lungs that this was happening, we went out and aggressively started buying back stock. So I think we spent about $500,000 so far this year buying back stock. Stock's starting to respond as I think the market's seeing the commodity prices move. I think the market's starting to realize that this asset's actually being permitted, and that once it actually gets permitted, that it's highly likely that someone would actually purchase the asset and actually put it into production. An asset of this size and quality doesn't become available, let alone that it's in the continental U.S. from a geopolitical risk perspective as well. So once that asset changes hand, we think that the market will start recognizing the value that it represents to Sailfish. And to provide some perspective, and you've kind of already touched on it, we're bringing in about $6 million of cash a year coming in based on our structure right now. We're spending about $3.5 million through our dividend policy and about $1 million a year in G&A. What this brings to the table once it's in production, whether it be late 2027 or early 2028, you're looking at between $15 and $20 million a year in revenue with no change to our underlying cost base. So that's a huge step change in terms of value proposition. And it's not reflected in our stock yet, and hope that changes over the course of the next 9 months as we get these data points coming out on Spring Valley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we break down those revenue metrics and predictions in our initiation report. And even, there's a further upside to that depending on what that project will look like ultimately when it is in production. And who knows where gold would be at this rate, could be well over 3,000, in which case you guys would be printing money. So with that, did you have anything else for the viewers that you wanted to end on?
No, I mean, we work for the shareholders, happy to take questions. We're trying to provide everybody as much information as possible with regards to Spring Valley. It is a bit of a cryptic process, but there is a link that both Ben, you've highlighted, and we've highlighted in our presentation, that you can go to the Bureau of Land Management website, specifically with the Spring Valley. You can look at all the documentation that is available in the public domain. And we will endeavor to make sure that everybody has every opportunity to get that information when it becomes available.
Great. Okay, well, Paul, thanks for walking us through the presentation today and answering some of those questions. We certainly look forward to seeing the updates throughout the rest of this year and into next. And certainly around the Spring Valley project, it sounds like an exciting 6-8 months for you guys. And then for our followers, if you haven't seen our initiation report on Sailfish, you can find that on our website at atriumresearch.ca. As well, you'll be able to see the updated notes as Sailfish reports them throughout the year. So with that, Paolo, thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.